So here on Monday, we have three areas of really a marginal threat where we can expect some thunderstorm development and potentially some low-level damaging winds. We could see it up in parts of the Montana-Idaho region, and that is going to be some pop-ups up there. We are going to see obviously some down in Florida Keys associated with that tropical storm. Kind of that back end of it is going to be kind of taking no energy whatsoever. So in Florida, since there is no energy really being taken by that storm anymore, it's going to allow some of that daytime convection and then some stuff coming off of the Gulf with that nice and warm air. So then we see up into the parts of the Appalachians and the Ohio Valley, we are going to see the southern part of that low pressure system that's going to be hanging out over the Great Lakes. We are going to see that developing and allowing for potentially 2 or 3 different squall lines to move through that entire region. And so what we're going to see there is potentially damaging winds and the potential for some hail. There is a very low tornado threat, so not expecting anything in there. But our biggest system today is going to be that low pressure system off of kind of the Great Lakes area. So temperatures are going to be very nice and seasonable over most of the nation. A few key things to talk about. We're going to see that warming along a potential dry line that could form all the way from West Texas clear up into parts of Montana. And so that's going to allow some potentially more damaging supercells to produce later in the week, but we're not really focused on that right now. We are seeing some of those colder temperatures work their way into the Midwest, and you may be wondering why. And basically, with this system, this giant low pressure system that's moving through, this rain and these clouds aren't allowing the environment to warm up a whole lot. And it's a cold rain, so it's our rain, cold air back there associated with that low. And so that's a very slow moving storm. So that's why a few days this week we're going to see colder temperatures, but don't worry, those are going to be rebounding back up, and we're potentially going to be above average across the Midwest. And then we do note also a third note overlooking kind of into the Carolinas region into parts of Virginia. You do see a pulled portion of cold air out over the ocean, and that is our tropical storm Arthur, the first tropical storm of the 2020 hurricane season. So that is why we are seeing the colder air. It is bringing it from a completely different source, and so that's why we're seeing it right there, and that's why along the eastern coast today you may see some colder temperatures. So here on your Monday morning, we see that this low pressure system is hanging out over parts of Wisconsin and Illinois and even portions of Indiana. We do see some rain across the northwest, and back to that low, we are going to see the development of some squall lines, but really the big majority is out in front of it rain, so we're not going to see those photogenic storms today. The third thing, we are seeing that tropical storm Arthur. It is going to make its closest touch to the U.S. today, the U.S. mainland, and then it is going to be heading out towards Bermuda. So this is going to be the worst day tropical storm-wise for anywhere along the coast. It's looking like the winds as of this morning are sustained at 45 mile per hour. It's like 1,002 millibars, so it's not a crazy huge tropical storm yet, but it will go out to sea and then hopefully never come back. So that is our first tropical storm right there. It was named over the weekend, and it kind of developed pretty quickly, but it started out over the Florida Keys and then developed and then traveled up the coast. So that is Arthur. Not a huge storm, but it is carrying those characteristics of a tropical storm, so that's why it has been given the name. So yeah, it's not a huge really development, but it is interesting because it is almost half a month earlier than the normal hurricane season. So then looking at Monday afternoon, we do see these squall lines develop, and then we see the more severe storms over parts of Florida and the south. But as you can see over the Ohio Valley, it's just kind of a mess up there. So that's why we're not going to see these massive photogenic storms with no precipitation out in front of them. We're going to see them kind of embedded and then some damaging winds within the storms. So it's definitely going to be something you need to watch out for during your afternoon. And looking across the whole nation, really the northwest, Ohio Valley, and then the eastern coast, just kind of a mess storm-wise because we have multiple systems clashing, especially in the Ohio Valley Midwest, and then impacted by Arthur and how it's traveling. It's kind of stalled it out during our afternoon hours. And then finally, looking at your nighttime, we do see Arthur completely make its way off the coast, almost eliminating any contact with the eastern coast. We see pockets of severe weather heading towards Arthur, being kind of dragged in there across the south, so pay attention to that. We do see a bigger squall line move its way to the northeast through Ohio, and then we will see some pop-ups behind that. We do see the remnants of potential pop-up storms and a few lines of showers up in the northwest. So this pretty much does it for today. Our biggest threats are going to be winds from Arthur, a lot of rain from Arthur, and then really what's going on with that low pressure system. So make sure you're staying attention to that, and you're paying attention to the news forecasts and everything, because they are going to be most accurate for your location. We remind you to be weather ready and join us tomorrow for Tuesday's forecast.